There we go. Okay. 1, 2. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see if we've got everyone. Okay. So it looks like we're all here. I see Director Northeast. You are here.
Yes, I am.
That 5 minutes went by really fast.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you mean you
Yeah.
gotta pet both cats, check on the dog, go to the bathroom, get coffee, so much to do.
Totally. I know. My toaster and my kettle don't work at the same time. So that was pretty much my whole time with first the toaster, then the kettle.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve, Travis, Leslie, are you guys here? Steve's here.
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? It's Leslie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I hear you. Great.
Okay. Because it
Dr.
just says
Hall.
it says my mic has been disabled. You can no longer unmute. So I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, mine says that too, but
Oh,
it
okay.
seems like
that was
we're-
just during the switch over, and it can get rid of that, and everything should be happy.
Oh, exit
Okay.
out. There we go. Okay. Boom, boom. X. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that works. Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay.
is my-
Loud and clear.
Oh, I just need my camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
There. Okay. And Director Hall, are you with us? Okay, I'm not hearing
Yes.
Director Hall, but I might just get started. Oh, you are? Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Takes me a
Hey,
while to unmute.
Travis.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good to be here.
Okay. So
could I
I'm
just-
going to. Oh,
Could I just
Yeah.
say something to my Islander friends? Thank you for being there and weighing in on this, as you would say, Valley-centric portion of our meeting. But your input is always valuable and appreciated. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. Okay, so we're gonna bring it back. Meg, are we ready to go back to the recording?
Yeah, give it like 10 seconds and the recording should, there we go. It should be good now.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. So we are back. And it is 10:40. The first item that we have on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes. So before us, we have the regular board meeting minutes from July 11th. Will directors please review the minutes? And does anyone have any comments or questions about those? I'm looking for a mover to adopt the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Director Northeast moves. A seconder?
I don't think it can be me because I wasn't at that meeting.
It can
Yeah,
be.
that's-
Go ahead. No, just giving it. I'll
There we
second
go.
it.
Okay, okay. I heard Director Hall. Perfect. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, everybody. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, so we're going to move straight into executive reports. So I'll go first, and then we'll go in order of areas by alphabetical order. Just going to change screens here. So yeah, first I would like to extend a warm welcome to our new corporate officer, Duncan. We're thrilled to have you on board, and we're looking forward to the expertise and leadership that you'll bring to our regional district. I would also like to express gratitude to Erin Nevison for her hard work and dedication to the district, and huge invaluable efforts, and a very bright future ahead for Erin. I'm really excited for her. So thank you very much to her, and also congratulations again to Meg in your new position. Yeah, it's I feel like a really good transition. I also want to formally welcome Leslie Harstead as our new regional director for Area E. A heartfelt thank you to everyone who came out. Almost everyone who came out to vote in the by-election for Area E. Your engagement in the community and its future is much appreciated. So thanks everybody for that, and for the staff for pulling the election together. Thank you very much. The Great Bear Playground project is we're just getting the finishing touches made to ensure that it is a safe and enjoyable space for all to play on, and I'm excited to see the community benefit from this wonderful addition. It's so great to see it happening through baseball season. It was really exciting as things were coming together at the end of the season, and to watch the excitement on the faces of the kids who couldn't stop talking about how much fun it's going to be to play on it. So thanks to the team there. Recently in Bella Coola, we had the annual fall fair. It was a huge success. The weather held out. It was great right to the very last little bit when we got a little bit of rain. It felt like the whole community came out to watch and participate. It was a really great time. So lots of volunteers to thank who made that event possible. And the efforts of our volunteers in our community continue to bring us together and make these moments so memorable for everyone involved. So huge thanks to volunteers and the Fall Fair Society, who do a great job each year in making it very special. So lastly, I would like to, I'll be attending UBCM next week, and I'm really looking forward to advocating for our region. To the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. We hope to gain support for the high costs of governance, which are particularly challenging for a region of our very small size. So I am looking forward to discussing the challenges of our region with our Municipal Affairs Minister, and to ask the province to step up for us, because we need their help and support to make this a great place to live, and to make sure that we have the same voice as our bigger regional counterparts do. So our people deserve to be heard. I'm going to pass it over to the area report for Director Steve Emery for Area A. Go ahead.
Hopefully these engines aren't too loud. We're running generators.
Well, you're a hero. You're a hero.
Making sure Travis can use the internet.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Their Ocean Falls had their annual fish derby and community barbecue, which was fun. I went to visit that and stayed overnight. So that was a good showing. There was lots of people there. And I guess some good news is that our ferry dock is actually being built right now. There's a couple cranes and some barges and some activity, and the actual float hasn't showed up, but everything else is here. So hopefully in the next few weeks we have something that looks like a ferry dock.
Woohoo! That's a big win.
And as Jamie says, we'll be down in UBCM this coming week, and we'll be looking for hopefully to get some input for our a new medical clinic on Denny Island, since the new hospital will be quite a ways away from walking access. So we'll see how that goes.
Great. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Director Emery. Next we have Director Hall for Area B. Go ahead.
We need a BC Transit bus service here. Not too much to add today, but we did have some cultural sharing with regards to the nations in the area and a treatment facility in the territory. So that was really good culture sharing. They did some more follow-up with some follow-up engagement meetings in the elders building, and they're utilizing other spaces there. A lot of them are leaving today. So it's really good to meet up with family and friends for this engagement period. I'm attending UBCM as well. I'm running for executive at large once again. No, not from the floor this time. So I appreciate the nominations from the members on the CCRD. Thank you, Lawrence and Thomas. Other than that, looking forward to it. I submitted my bio and whatnot, and I tried to record a video while I was in Shearwater, but I don't know. I get too nervous. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, having hydro issues in Bella Bella. This off and on. Hopefully there'll be more upgrades to the whole system. As you're aware, we have a new subdivision that's being developed. Currently, it'll just be a road access behind the village. They've installed a number of culverts now to the whole system, so we won't have the little flooding and debris flowing across the water. My concern with that was the trout and salmon beds that are in those old ditches that were there. We used to play with the salmon and the trout in the little ditch across from my grandma's place, and now it's filled with new sand and whatnot. Anyway, childhood memories. Yeah, weather's been nice here. I haven't gotten much fishing done, but I did process a lot of fish and showing younger members how to smoke fish and brine and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to some more engagement with the community. I can't remember if we announced the meeting we had with Jennifer Rice regarding the airport access road. I had Leo and Vanessa from Capital Works attend the meeting as well and give Jennifer Rice a very full background on the whole project and the needs post-COVID, the additional costs that everyone's being subject to. History on that roadway. My grandpa made that roadway with very little access to backfill, so they used old trees and whatnot, and those trees are now rotten out and the road is very bumpy. This causes issues for any type of emergency access roadway to the airport for the ambulance service, which doesn't just service the village, it also services vessels passing by Denny Island, Shearwater, Kitasoo. And yeah, it'll be important to have this access roadway updated, and it'll be easier to maintain as well in the winter times for the plows, and those plows have such a hard time in that bumpy road. Anyway, that's kind of it for now, and look forward to seeing those who are going to attend UBCM, and a little disappointed in the couple of declines we had with regards to our meeting requests, but it is what it is. We'll make the best of what we have in this engagement with UBCM. And again, too, I'm like in Jamie's position where I enjoy advocating for our area and also networking for those who have similar issues to us in other areas and other regional districts and municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hall. Director Northeast for Area D, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to start with a public service announcement. Residents of the Bella Coola Valley, tomorrow is your last opportunity in this calendar year to get a Legion burger up at our local Legion. If you've never done it, it is the best $10 you will ever spend on food. So if you've forgotten, the Legion opens at 4:30 on Friday, and burgers are served between 6 and 7:30, and it is worth it. So thinking about that in public service, I want to just take a minute, thank the committees and all those involved to put together the music festival this year and the fall fair. You probably don't hear it enough, but we do. The residents of the valley do appreciate the work that you do, and I do especially. in that same vein, those who stepped up, like Janice Kyle, to run a community recreation program regarded this summer in the face of closure of our temporary closure of our pool. Thank you for a job very well done. Couple things I think I'll just throw in here. First of all, I hope the remaining 2 years of my term will be noted for greater cooperation and mutual support and respect for this local government and the government that is the Newhawk and other First Nations governments in our territory. And I hope to be a contributing member of that case. I also want to remind everybody that it's that time of year again. We start the budget process very soon, and I want to encourage all members of the public to be involved, get informed, check out the CCRD website and find out all the ways that you can make your thoughts and feelings known. I think I should, in closing, just add that if you need to reach me, you won't be able to find me at the Higginsburg store, but that's okay. Modern technology is such that just as I'm talking to you now, and as many of you stay in touch with your own grandchildren this way, I am available. You can email me. My CCRD email is lnortheast. Wait a minute, it might be LG Northeast at ccrd.ca. And you can reach me that way. However, if you email me and you request a phone call, I have a new phone number. So if you happen to have one of my old cards kicking around, those numbers no longer apply, but I do have a new number. And if you email me a request for a phone call, I will call you back. You can also reach me if you are on Facebook. You can message me on Facebook as well. So I am looking forward to hearing from you. And again, I just want to thank all those who make our job look easy. Okay, it is easy. You know, you guys do such a good job. But the staff, welcome, and again, welcome Leslie to our team and our new staff member, or sorry, our restructured staff, as Curtis reminded us earlier, and I'm looking forward to continue to work with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Northeast. And Electoral Area E Director, Leslie Harstead, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, just had to unmute. I don't have near as much to say as Director Northeast did, but because I'm brand new here. Today's my very first day, and as director, it's a bit uncertain at this point whether I will end up staying on as a director for Area E, but I certainly am looking forward to being of service to the people of Area E. I'm very happy to meet you all and be working with all of the directors and the staff at the CCRD and the community as a whole. And that's about it.
Wonderful. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you very much. Thank you for your report. Excellent. Yeah, and thanks everybody. It feels like July was just like a few minutes ago, but it also seems like a lifetime ago. So it's really great to be back in this forum with you. We're going to keep moving through our agenda, and next on the list is a request for a decision on the 2023 Statement of Financial Information update. So we have a supplemental report to the SOFI pursuant to the Financial Information Act for the year ending December 31st, 2023. So it is there in front of you. Mr. Slingerland, we don't need a report on this. I think we just need to approve it. Is that correct? Unless you have any
Correct.
questions.
There was just, we've made a resident brought to our attention, an error in process, and we've corrected the SOFI, and there's a report later on. These are tied together in regards to a disclosure. So we've noticed the error, we've corrected the error. It was a staff error. So we're just seeking the board to basically approve the corrected SOFI, and then we can resubmit it so that it can be officially filed with the province.
Great. Does anyone have any questions about this this addition? If not, I'm looking for a motion that the supplemental report to the SOFI pursuant to the Financial Information Act for the year ended December 31st, 2023 be approved and submitted to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
I'll move it.
Moved by Director Hall, and a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Director Northeast. Any further discussion?
Can I just ask, I don't know if I'm allowed to vote on this one because I wasn't part of the 2023 the original information. Can I get some clarification on that?
I think
For sure.
you can still vote on it. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, you have a member with full voting rights, so you are eligible. For anything that is not a participant vote, you are eligible to vote. So this report has voting to all directors, simple majority. Okay. You are able to vote on this matter.
All right, thanks.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Hearing none. Excellent. Thank you. Our next item is a request for decision on renewal of the Community Works Fund Agreement. Perhaps Ms. Bien can give us a quick overview of this report.
Sure, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
May I? As you're aware, the previous Community Works Fund 10 years agreement was expired on March 31st, 2024. And in June, the staff CCRD received the renew funding agreement for 10 years from 2024 throughout to 2034. So this is report just seeking the board approval so that we can execute an agreement and then we can start receiving money. Just a little bit of a highlights here. The main kind of highlights on the new agreement is they extended certain category for eligible project categories. One of them was related to climate resilience. So now this category has expanded to include infrastructure and systems that protect and strengthen the resilience of community in the face of climate change and natural disasters and extreme weather events. Another things on the fire halls. In the previous agreement also allow us to actually allocate funds regarding fire halls and fire station infrastructure. But now this category extended to include a fire truck purchases as well. So also another area that new agreement actually included a new category has expanded to include development of long-term planning practice. Specifically, they emphasize regarding housing needs assessment and housing planning. And then if you're moving into actual financial implications, according to new Community Works funding agreement, the regional district will receive it to 226,514 in 2024. And also I included some of these, the next 5 years funding allocation projection according to a new agreement. And then also I open the floor to the board if you have any questions. I can happy to answer.
Great. Do any directors have questions for our CFO? If we if we don't have any, I'm looking for the motion that the board authorize the execution of the 2024 to 2034 Community Works Fund Agreement. And that further that the chair and corporate officer be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the CCRD.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Moved by Director
second it.
Emery, seconded by
Second.
Director Northeast. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Hearing none. Wonderful. Next up, we have an information report on the short-term financing and long-term borrowing for regional districts. Thank you for this report, Ms. Bien. Does anyone have questions on this report? I don't hear any, and this is just for information, so we don't need any motions on this. But if anyone has any questions, then we can direct them to our CFO. Next is the administrative update. This is actually always my favorite part of the agenda because it's just like kind of shows how time is being managed and just how many different things our staff are managing at any given time, and what is going across everyone's desks and what everybody's up to. So I find it really informative. I like to direct members of the public's attention to this area because it really does show just how many things are going on at the CCRD at any given moment. So does anybody have any questions for our CAO on this one? Curtis, is there anything that you like? Do you want to do a brief summary of this? Is there anything you want to bring to our attention in particular?
I would just, there's a few small things that I think would be kind of worth noting. One is there's some progress pictures on the Great Bear Playground project, so you can kind of see how it's evolving. It's really exciting to see this stuff these projects come to life. So I really want to give some special thanks to the operations team as well as Mr. Manson to getting this sorted. We're still getting used oil out of the valley from the landfill, so that's something that we still have a few more trips. We've also restructured the operations team so that the operations team is available 5 days a week. So if there are any issues that any residents have, please contact our operations office Monday to Friday. So that's there. Other than that, the teams have been busy. From our fire team to our emergency management, our capital team, everybody has been operating pretty much flat out this last little bit. Getting the election sorted, following through on the board's direction to send letters, completing FOIs for the residents, getting a newsletter done, getting the service satisfaction survey sorted, and doing a bit of a departmental restructure. So it has been a very busy summer.
Great. Any questions on the administrative report? Next, we have the memo Area E by-election 2024. This one, we have Ms. Shad. If there's anything, any questions or comments, or Ms. Shad, if you wanted to bring anything to our attention on this report. We've just got it for information. All right, hearing none. Next, we have a request for decision. So this one is for direction on an alternate direction for electoral area D. Mr. Malkinson, can you give us a brief overview on this report?
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. The report presented describes basically the timelines under which the board is required under the Local Government Act to appoint an alternate. Director Thomas Tallio, up until I believe yesterday, was serving as the appointed director for electoral area E, and prior to this, he was serving as the alternate for electoral area D. I think Director Talio had given notice to the district recently that he did not intend to seek appointment as an alternate for electoral area D in the coming, he just recently gave that notice. So the report outlines, or leaves two options before the board, and that's to basically acknowledge a vacancy, for the alternate director for electoral area D, and perhaps, offer that flexibility for Director Northeast to make that appointment, or in line with past practice, the board could authorize, oh, sorry, dogs.
That's okay.
Where the board could authorize an appointment process for, the district staff to try to perhaps identify some expressions of interest and feed those up to the board for the board to make an appointment. So there's a couple of directions to go here, depending on past dialogue that's been had. But the report is there, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for this report. Director Northeast, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, I would. Not Nathan, sorry, Duncan. Thank you for your report and outlining our options. It is my intention to find and ask to find an alternate and bring one forward, hopefully for the next meeting. So that's my intention, and I hope the board will support that decision.
Okay, so do we just need to go with option one then, that we acknowledge the vacancy in the office of alternate director for electoral area E? Or
That
D?
would be our
Not D.
that would be staff's recommendation, Madam Chair. Yes.
Okay, so Director Northeast, are you making that motion?
I certainly will.
Okay, wonderful. I've got a mover. I'm looking for a seconder. Seconded by Director Emery. Any further discussion? All in favor? Great. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Did I miss that? No, I didn't. Okay. So next is delegations and virtual meetings. So this one, we are looking for a motion, and perhaps I'll ask either Curtis or Duncan to kind of weigh in on this, and maybe we can have a discussion about what direction we should go with this.
I'll take this one, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
So with this one, the staff are bringing back, as per the board's direction, the board passed a number of resolutions in March that restructured how we conduct board meetings. So with the decision made, the time to reconsider happening in September. So we've brought this back as per the board's direction. And really what we're seeking is direction on what does the board want to do in regards to the decisions made by the board. So does the board want to, right now we do a fully remote version of board meetings, and previously we did a hybrid sort of system where there was done in person. So we're seeking direction on what the board would like to do for that, how we conduct the board meetings. Additionally, there were some direction provided to staff on in regards to delegations and how we were processing delegations. So the board has so we seek the board's perspective and direction on, are we returning to how we did delegations before? Are we changing how we do delegations and bringing them back? Or are we still saying no more delegations? And the third question that is posed is the public input period, which is a new feature only brought on recently. That was suspended. So we seek a bit of guidance in regards to, does the board want to return to public input period, or does the board want to go back to its longstanding practice of not having public input period? So we seek the board's guidance and direction on those three questions in front of you today.
So I'd like to
There we go.
sound in on,
Go ahead.
just like to sound in on in person regarding the membership, the from the outer coast. I would like to attend in person at some times because that's just a more fulsome discussion, in my opinion. I'm not subject to power outages and random, I upgraded my systems for connectivity, but now there's potential power outages and perfectly beautiful weather where we shouldn't have these issues, but the village is ever expanding and it's putting more and more pressure on the current infrastructure for hydro. So yeah, I want to keep that open. I do think that we need to also have delegations. So groups that want to state their opinion and or their purpose of their livelihoods and whatnot that can bring additional services to the areas, as well as potential services to CCRD and staff. So it's important to have those things. I know we had, for an example, we had Elroy White and his archaeology company make a presentation regarding what they do for surveys and whatnot. That was brought up with the Newhawk earlier regarding surveying, yeah, different lots and plots and whatnot. So I think it's important to have delegations have the opportunity to attend. Thank you.
Pardon me. Sorry. Thank you, Director Hall. Director Northeast, I see you've got your hand up there.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. First out, let me say that I want to support Director Hall. I think there is value in meeting face to face where possible, and I would like, to be honest with you, I'm not even up to date on what the current policy is for Director Emery and Director Hall for attending in person, but I would certainly like to see them at meetings as often as we or they are able to make that happen. Yeah, I'm all in favor of finding a path to move forward so that we might have public input, delegations, that sort of thing. There are some issues that need to be addressed, and I'm not going to rehash those right now, where most of us are aware of the history. And so I think for the sake of transparency, accountability, that we try to find a way that people can be heard. That is, people who want to participate in an open and safe manner. That said, I will say this, one of the things that I would hope people will take with the intent that it's meant. I don't think you can go to a municipal meeting anywhere in the province of British Columbia and engage the directors in an open debate in those sessions. You can state your issue, your concern. You could even ask a question, and then you'll get probably one of three responses. Thank you very much. Perhaps a direction to admin staff to respond in writing, or you might even get an invitation such as, oh, that sounds like it affects my area. Please email me, give me a call. Actually, there's a fourth one too. You may get a response that's essentially a clarifying question. And I think sometimes that's where meetings kind of went off the rails. People then understood that, rightly or wrongly, as an invitation to a debate. And the input sessions and the delegations and that are not a forum for debate. So that said, I've turned the page in a sense in my mind. I hope everybody, especially as we move into the discussion around the budget, that we will be able to find a way to bring these things back in a safe and responsible way. Sorry, sounded like a speech, but there it is.
Not at all. Thank you very, very much. Director Emery, did you want to add anything here?
No, just that if we go back to regular in-person meetings, that you know, we'll try it. But if it goes sideways, we need to revert right back again, so we don't waste too much time, you know, entertaining the circus.
Okay. Director Harstead, do you want to add anything here?
Sure. Yeah, so I agree with Director Hall and Director Northeast that we should start fresh and go back to in-person. And I'm the kind of person that likes to meet people face to face. So it'd be nice if I could see the directors and in person and do that relationship building with them and with the community. Also, there was some talk about the 2-minute talk that people can do, maybe because people were complaining about that, it wasn't quite long enough. I'm just wondering about increasing that to maybe 4 minutes and then have less people be able to speak per meeting if it's a longer time. Not sure what people think about that, but that's just my thoughts on this.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think I agree with the consensus here. I like the idea of like a hybrid, so that it's we can have the boardroom in session, as well as the option to tune in remotely if we're not in town. And for the Outer Coast members, it's an option for them to come in person, depending on travel and all of those types of things. So perhaps we can continue with that. I would welcome delegations back. I am hesitant to welcome back public input period just because of the amount of bad behavior we saw and abuse that was heaped onto staff and that was heaped onto directors. It really created a lot, like this terrible atmosphere, and this is a workplace, it's virtual as well, but it's a workplace, and nobody deserves to be abused in their place of work. We have seen staff resign. We've seen director resign, and a lot of those things are burnout and the way that it seems like people think that it's okay to treat other people. In fairness, I would like to say, in the past few months, I've received nothing but warm, wonderful treatment by the community. Everybody has been wonderful, and I do really hope that turning over this new leaf is kind of a good time to make that change. But to be honest, what happened in the February meeting is absolutely unacceptable. It is never okay for what happened to happen. And that was a building that came from like this abuse that continued to happen every meeting. And I would be very hesitant to bring back the public input period. We tried it as a trial. In my opinion, it was a disaster. Yeah, I of course that it's up to the board, but that in my opinion. Perhaps delegations can be prioritized if they have to do with agenda items, maybe, or as Director Hall said, something that is like really benefits the community. If someone behaves badly, I don't think that they should continue to receive delegations. If they are speaking out of turn or shouting above the board meeting or, you know, any other sort of things, I don't think that those, or abusing our staff, abusing our directors. I don't, like, I have received a lot of really aggressive emails with people calling me names and like insulting me, and then receiving a delegation. You know, I just feel like we have to have a level of professionalism because we are professionals in a workplace, and this wouldn't be expected of anybody else. So that's my, sorry, I kind of went off on that one, but I do feel strongly about it because it affected a lot of us profoundly, and some of the people it affected are no longer working with the CCRD. And, you know, we have a lot of sentiments around in this community about hiring locally. And as long as people are treated the way that they were treated at that time, we're going to really struggle with that going forward. So I would like to have a workplace environment that is safe and friendly and welcoming, and where people are treated professionally. So anyways, so I would, I think we, oh, I see Director Northeast has his hand up. You go ahead, Director Northeast, and then we'll look at, and then Director Hall.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, to use a church phrase, amen to everything that you just said. And I hope my comments were not taken to say, let's just throw the doors open and go back. So that's good. So two things: hybrid, definitely. Yes, we should continue that. That actually enhances democracy. It enhances people's opportunity to be heard. So put me down for that. And second of all, perhaps the answer is incremental. You know, as we look to making, if we are looking to make changes, then maybe we make incremental changes and see how it goes. But that's all I wanted to add. So thank you for your words.
Thank you. Director Hall?
I just wanted to add to addressing the issues with the conduct of people who are attending the meetings from the public. I know that in most of our entities, in our offices, in our foyers to the entities, they have a statement on the wall about zero tolerance and harassment, and maybe even just a reminder of that to be placed in our chambers, and also just maybe onto our face or our website, just to state the zero tolerance rules about, you know, this type of conduct and harassment and threats to the staff and or directors, because it's important work that is done by that office, and it is, you know, a public office that it needs to have a place for public to also state their voices. So we have to have a balance in accepting a process, again, to have them engage in an appropriate manner. I appreciate your comments about this, and I'm very sorry that this is happening to, or has happened to, staff and or directors in those areas. We won't always have this much heat, I think. It's just that the nature of what transpired with regards to some of the changes that needed to be made to basically the whole system. But yeah, I appreciate those comments, and hopefully we can move forward in a positive way, and a way that we can hear the voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hall. So it sounds like we're ready for the first, our first vote. We've got a couple of options. I'm thinking that it sounds like we agree that we would like to reinstate in-person and remote board meetings. I don't know if we, if that would be the hybrid format, I'm guessing. Yep. And so I think we're ready for the motion that the Board of Directors of CCRD reinstate in-person and remote board meetings. Is anyone ready to make that motion?
Yes,
Moved
I
by-
would. I also want to make a statement regarding budgets for individuals. I think there needs to be a line item that's identified that states whether some of the spending that occurs is due to our own engagement and our own training purpose, because some people were pointed out that their budgets were run over, but we had no control over it in the past, and it wasn't identified that those decisions were not mine entirely or the directors entirely. So I was a bit offended by a comment that was made regarding a personal travel budget and or training budgets that again are decisions made by the entire board. Just wanted to state that, because if we're going to go back to some in-person meetings, there's going to be a bit of a structural change in the budgets individually. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hall. And I think that it is, yeah, worth mentioning that, you know, although we are the smallest regional district with the smallest tax requisition, it costs more for us to go anywhere than it does for any other place. And it doesn't mean that our residents shouldn't have their voices heard just as anybody else's. So I hear you and I appreciate your comment there. So it sounds like we all agree. I think I had a motion from, was it Director Emery that moved the option 1 there? Yep. And I'm looking for a seconder that we move to hybrid meetings.
I'll second.
Seconded by Director Hall. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, so now we have another vote, and so this is more about the delegation and public input period. And so I think we're kind of looking at, it would be like more like, would it be option 2? I don't know, Duncan or Curtis, which from our discussion, would you say that option 2? And then maybe we can, as Director Northeast said, wait on the public input period, bring back delegations, and like kind of have an incremental reintroduction to the level of engagement that we were having before?
Madam Chair, I think based on the conversation that you've had here, it sounds like with respect to the delegation process that you'd want to reinstate the delegation process. And if you wanted to make a separate, maybe if you wanted to, maybe this moves us to option 3, where you'd reinstate delegations and we'd strike public input period, and then we can make an adjustment to the policy with respect to public input periods. If you wanted to develop an incremental approach, or maybe a shorter, perhaps shorter number of speakers in the public input period during your meetings. There's a few different things that you could change there.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Hall, go ahead.
Yeah, and in that process too, I would maybe want to suggest like a sign-up sheet that states the policies about harassment and these types of actions that were made toward staff and or directors, and kind of their conduct while presenting and you know, having their voices heard.
Yeah, I hear you. At the beginning of each delegation and public input period, I would always state like what the expectations are. So maybe if it was, you know, in writing, I'm not sure, but I feel like that was a really strong message that we continued to send to, you know, the public and through delegations, that like what is, you know, acceptable and what is not, as far as how we engage. So yeah, you know, if we have on the you know, but like let's look at, like, if we say option 3, the Board of Directors of the CCRD move to reinstate delegations and to direct staff to amend policy A37 on delegation and public input period to include incremental reintroduction of public, I don't know, like, sorry, with the wording on that last bit of how we should say that we bring back delegations, let's see how it goes, and then bring the public input back if after discussion. Yeah.
That's certainly an option, Madam Chair. You could, simply say, reinstate delegations at this time and ask us to bring forward a report on public input periods, perhaps 6 months from now or 3 months from now. Your choice.
Okay, that sounds good. So, kind of looking to the board now to see where we're at, and if anybody wants to make a motion of 3 months, 6 months, whatever we're kind of feeling. Director Northeast, go ahead.
Yeah, 6 months seems a long ways away in the minds of most of us, so I think 3 months is probably a reasonable objective. We are looking at bringing forward, if I understand right, we are looking forward to bringing back delegations sooner, and then the public input down the road. Do I have that right?
That was kind of
Okay.
that's what I thought was the intention. Yeah.
Okay, and I could support that. And uh, Madam Chair, I think you did an excellent job at the beginning of these periods, outlining the expected behavior. But I do like what Director Hall suggested. I believe at some level, if there isn't already some sort of posting, big letters in the chambers to that effect. And I don't think for Duncan, if it's your responsibility to, and I don't know if it is, to create the delegation, the application for delegation, that they sign off on that. I know when I get something like that, I quite often read through it rather quickly and just go, yeah, sign it. But I also don't think it hurts to have something to remind delegations that, again, this is not a period, this is not an open forum. It's an invitation to an open forum. One of the things that we saw was delegations then playing to the crowd, and that can't happen. They are to address the chair. I mean, these are all things I'm sure, people who have been in other administrations or other jurisdictions have seen. And so I'll use an old teacher phrase. Let's use the best practices that we are aware of and implement them and make them our own rather than try to make something from scratch. Do you need a motion?
I think so, but I see Director Hall's hand up. Is it still up or is it up again, Director Hall?
It was up again.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just more saying what Director Northeast was also saying there. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, Director Northeast, if you're ready, we can go ahead.
Yeah, I would make that motion for option 3. We'll go to staff to develop, I don't know what you call it, policy, procedure, practice for returning delegations. And then input, same thing for input, public input or public engagement 3 months from now.
Okay. Yeah, Duncan, does that sound okay for that motion? Or do you
Yeah,
need...
can we also add at the end of the 3 months for us to have a discussion regarding it and seeing how it goes?
Excellent idea.
Yeah.
So to review in 3 months.
Okay. Okay, cool. So we have a motion. I'm looking for a seconder.
I'll move.
Seconded by Director Hall. And further discussion there?
Sorry, second.
Sorry. No worries. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay. Thanks, you guys. That's a big one. And yeah, I really appreciate everybody's time and input there. So next is pardon me, is the information report on the recent service satisfaction survey. So that's all there. That's yeah, well broken down, and thanks to staff for putting this together for us. I have here in my notes that Ms. Shad is the presenter on this. Is there anything that you want to bring to our attention here, or should we just open it to questions and comments from directors, Meg?
Everything is pretty straightforward in there, so I'd comments and questions.
Great. Thank you. Questions and comments on the service satisfaction survey. I want to thank all participants who engaged with the survey. I think we did get some good feedback there, and thanks to staff for putting it together and putting it out there to get the our finger on the pulse of what people are wanting, and to get some good feedback there. So yeah, any comments? We go ahead, Miss. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I read through all the comments last night, and they were quite extensive, and it was nice to see. And I just think, yeah, it's good to get that input for the directors to hear that stuff, and yeah, so there's room. I guess there's room for improvement always, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, lots of good input there, and yeah, I'm glad that we're able to access that. So yeah, we'll move on to next, the Director Emery contract disclosure piece. And so this is just an information report describing a contract disclosure. And does anybody have any questions on this one? All right, I'm hearing none, so we will continue right along. So next, we have a request for direction. This is regarding the Heiltsuk Tribal Council's application to NDIT for water system upgrades. So they're looking for a letter of support for their grant application. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this request? If not, I am looking for a motion to express our support for the Heiltsuk Tribal Council's application to NDIT for the Heiltsuk Shearwater Resort water system upgrade.
I'll move.
Moved by Director Hall, and a seconder?
Yep.
Director Northeast, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
And maybe I'll recuse myself on that.
Okay, okay, you bet. Any opposed? Hearing none. Great, so we will send that support. Okay, so we're moving on to the Public Works, Transportation, and Operations portion of our agenda. This is a request for decision. It's on the Haggensburg water tender. So Mr. Manson is here to speak to this report. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Manson. Does anyone have questions, or maybe I'll get Mr. Manson to just give us a quick rundown here, if that's okay? Oh, I see Curtis.
All right, sorry, just had to get the technology activated here.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Before you start, Director Emery, you recuse yourself. That just being a conflict of interest, just to.
It could be yes, it could be a conflict of interest. They've asked me to do some test holes with my backhoe on the property. And so it could be, it's not for that money, but it's for the water system. So who knows if that someone might have an issue with it. So
Okay, I'm just seeking a little clarification for the minutes. Yeah,
Sure.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we wish to give the board an update on our tender for the Hagensburg water system. As you know, this project's been in the works for a number of years. We have successfully received a permit from the Coastal Health in terms of the components of the water system that we were required to put in order to meet coastal health requirements for running water systems. And we achieved that milestone sort of in the middle of the summer, and we're able to complete our design drawings package and get it out to tender in August. It took about 4 weeks for the tendering process to complete. We had a bit of a late update in our tendering process for electrical components that didn't get completed until a week or two into the tender process. So we did give an extension to the contractors bidding on the project. Project again consists of, we've already drilled 2 new wells for domestic water.
Make potatoes if you want.
Oh, Director Hall, can you mute? Thanks.
So the project consists of taking those wells, connecting it to what we call a treatment system. It's pretty minimal. We will be putting in a UV disinfection system, and we're required to put in chlorine disinfection as well to disinfect the water against pathogens and viruses and bacteria, etc. And then maintain a chlorine residual in the system. This is typical for water systems all over British Columbia. We are including a reservoir for storage purposes, mostly to provide consistent pressure in the system, and also, most importantly, to provide for adequate flows for fire protection. Particularly when you go to a well source, you do not have enough peak flow capacity to manage a fire flow instantaneously. So you basically need a reservoir as part of that system. And then basically as much distribution system as we can afford based on our grant funding, which we have for the project. The project is funded mostly from grants, but we also have a contribution that came forward that the reserve fund that's come forward originally from the transition of the local improvement district into the regional district. So our available construction funding for the project is approximately $4.5 million. We tailored our tender package to what we thought would more or less match that. We made sure to capture lots of distribution system in case we got some good low prices and we're able to do more. Unfortunately, I can't tell you we got that through our tendering processes. The prices are significantly higher than we'd anticipated. We got 3 contractors submitting prices, Trian Enterprises, Hazelwood Construction, and Carver Construction. We also had a 4th contractor that was on site and involved in the question period, etc., but we did not receive a tender from them. And the tenders closed on September the 5th at 2 o'clock. The lowest tender was Trian Enterprises at $7.6 million, including optional work that was mostly to do with some of the side streets that we wanted to try and get brought in within the scope of the project. Without that optional work, basically just the distribution system to the west area of the treatment plant, west of the creek there, just on Highway 20, the price for that came in at $6.5 million. So we're approximately $2 million over our construction budget allowance that we were working to at $4.5 million. The intention at this point, we've had 3 contractors do all their pricing. They've priced out the reservoirs, treatment plant. They've given us unit prices. We could award the project to the lowest tender, but I can tell you we do not have funding to cover the entirety of that contract in terms of the volumes that we put in it. It is a unit price contract. We have abilities to change those units to a certain extent. Industry standard in respect to that is around 15%. These tenders are significantly more than that 15% allowance. So with that in mind, my recommendation and recommendation of our staff and our professionals that have been reviewing this is that we go back quickly to a second tender, reduce the scope of the work, continue with the unit price contract basically as we have put forward, but with a reduced scope in order to bring the project closer to that $4.5 million construction mark. So that is in fact our recommendation at this point, that we officially reject the tenders as submitted, and then we quickly move into a retender. We hopefully expect to get back before the next board meeting to be able to give you an update on tender results based on a reduced scope. And the scoping includes the reduction. It's going to be about a 50% reduction in the amount of distribution work that we're able to do based on our available budget. Just as a side, if the question comes up from anywhere, what would be the total cost of the distribution system if we were not to do treatment or not to do a reservoir, which we're not recommending, but if the question does come up, using these unit prices, we're well over just to do all of the water mains on Highway 20, none of the side streets, just the water mains, and replace the main into the airport with using the unit prices, basically that we're getting so far on this tender process. We'd be up around a $10 million mark to do a complete replacement. So very clearly, based on current construction costs in the valley, as we've gone out to the market, we could not hope to do even just the distribution system within the scope of the available funding that we have of $4.5 million. So this is overall in terms of the replacement of all of the pipes within the Haggensburg system. This is going to be a multi-phase project. The utility would have to look at future projects to do capital to complete the whole area over time. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Manson? Go ahead, Ms. Harstead. Or Director Harstead, sorry. Oh yeah, you're muted, sorry.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute.
There you go. There you go.
So, yeah, I didn't get as much time as the other directors to read through everything, but I did read through some of it. But so the scope of the project that just went out to tender, is that to replace all the pipes and do the water treatment part of it?
No, it's while we would like to have done that, as I just mentioned, there are not enough funds to do all of the distribution system treatment, including the reservoir. So we are starting the project out to meet the coastal health requirements to treat the water system, which is a basic premise of how the grant was provided to us and given to us. We're going to put the headworks in, which is the treatment system and the reservoir. And then the intent is to use as much of the grant funding as we can to upgrade the distribution system. And our recommendation at this point is to reduce a little bit of the amount of that distribution system in order to meet our grant funding that we have available to spend on the project. And that with time, additional portions of that distribution system would need to be upgraded as separate projects over time, either through grant funding or other means. It would be approximately $15 million to do the whole system. If you put in a new treatment system, reservoir, all of the Highway 20 work, and including the side roads, would be up well over $15 million, of which we only have 4.5. So we're clearly the scope of the whole project as we would like to do. It's just not possible to do with the funding that we have in place.
I see. And so you're wanting to do the chlorinating, the treatment part of it, and then do replacing piping afterwards, like down the road somewhere?
No, we would include in this project, in this tender, as much distribution system as we can do with the $4.5 million we have available to spend. So that's the intent.
And did you say all of the west of the Snootley Creek?
No, the scope
Sorry.
of the it's okay. The scope of the project, as we tendered it in August, was to do all of Highway 20 west of the creek.
Right.
Unfortunately, the prices that I'm just describing here came in $2 million over that. So we can't even do that within the $4.5 million that we have. So we're going to do a portion of the area west of the creek. Our engineers are now updating the drawings to basically reduce that. We're going to probably do about half of the distribution system west of the creek. We targeted that area because it was the portions of the system that were the most in need of updating and upgrading. Unless we can find another $2 million somewhere, we're going to just have to be able to just do a portion of that area west of the creek. We've got designs done, we've got drawings. I'm sure we'll be very interested in continuing to apply for grants to be able to continue that work. But at this point, with the funding available that we have, we just can't do it with the funding that we have in place.
And did you say that there would be a UV system as well as chlorination?
Yes, that is a coastal health requirement. You have to have two different methods of disinfection on at all times when the system's in operation.
So pardon my ignorance, but would the chlorine be being pushed into the system like all the time, or just at high turbidity times, or how does that work?
The chlorine is there for the secondary disinfection, and then it has to have, coastal health also requires a residual of chlorine in the entire distribution system, and they will require us to test for chlorine at the extents at the end of the two ends of the system on a regular basis, as is done in water systems all over British Columbia. The residual is very low. It's about 0.2 parts per million. A pool typically runs 3 or 4 parts per million, so it's significantly less than you would have in a pool, for example. And that's to continue the disinfection process through the distribution system all the way to the point at which they provide service to the homes.
I see. And so is there, say when the chlorine is first coming down the pipes, is there going to be a kind of like an uneven amount of chlorine in certain areas, or is it like, how is that? Like, the mix of water to chlorine, is it going to be evenly distributed from the moment it comes out of the system?
The first thing to note is our water supply is no longer going to be a surface water supply of variable quality. It is now going to be groundwater, which is very, very consistent in its quality. So that allows us to put just the right amount of chlorine into the system. There's a chlorine analyzer, there's a chlorine dispenser, and the two are linked. And basically we're required, I believe it's 1 part per million is the initial disinfection amount that's put into the system as it goes up to the reservoir, and it stays in the reservoir. We're required to maintain that residual in the reservoir around 1 part per million, in that range. And then as it moves through the distribution system, there's organics in that distribution system. The users are well aware of that because they see it in their filters and in their waters. We're going to have a lot less organics in the system over time. Once we go to a well water, you just don't get the organics in the well water that you would in a surface system. And you also don't get the bugs and the animals swimming around in the water that you'll get out of a surface water supply. So that means there's less demand on the chlorine. So it'll tend to stay stable in the system a little bit longer, which means we only need to put less amount in initially, which is a good thing, and it's more consistent. There will be slight fluctuations, but there'll be probably less than 10% of the kind of fluctuations that would exist in a surface water system, like a creek intake that they have there now.
And what is, you may or may not be aware, but do you know what the effects of chlorine are on any organics that are in the line presently? Because I understand there's a fair amount of organic in our system right now.
That's why they want the residual. Because if those organics get stirred up in the system, let's say a fire flow or a watering break, you'll tend to get those organics that are sitting at the bottom of the pipeline. They'll get stirred up and they'll get brought into the system. And that's what that residual chlorine is intended to do, is go after anything alive in that organic stream that's sitting in the bottom of the pipe. With time, you'll get less and less organics in the system. That stuff will eventually flush out, and we get very, very little organics in a well. Probably 5% of what you get out of a surface water supply. So that issue is going to be significantly less. It'll take a year or two for the system to stabilize running off a well system. But with time, we'll have less and less issues with those organics that are in our pipelines. The other thing that we'll do aggressively when we transfer over to the new system is we will flush the lines. We'll do a fairly aggressive flushing program that brings the velocities up and gets those organics stirred up and moving through the system. And then the water that comes in is clean, and then eventually our pipes will be a lot cleaner. Even the old stuff that's 30 and 40 years old, you can get the organics out of the system as long as you're not bringing in new organics from a surface water supply. Those systems will clean out through our flushing program and through use over a 1 or 2 year period after the system is transferred over to wells.
And John, do you know any or have any experience with other regional districts or areas that have asbestos pipes like we do?
Yep, their asbestos pipes is probably 30% of all municipal water systems in BC and in North America. They were a common material used when I graduated in '78. We were still putting it in the ground. It's a common misnomer that they're dangerous, and asbestos pipes in particular, when they're in a water system, they're wet. And the danger for asbestos is when they're dry, especially when you're cutting them when they're dry with those fibers. As long as they stay wet, they're considered safe. When we cut into asbestos pipes, when we do repairs, the standard procedure for disposing of asbestos pipes, when we cut them with a saw, if you're using water with your saw, then it's considered safe. You wear a mask, you take the pieces of pipe, you put it in a plastic bag, and you bury it on site, because they stay wet and they're considered safe when they're wet. So it's not considered a hazard. Our biggest concern about asbestos pipes is they're brittle and they break very easily, whereas plastic pipes are much more flexible. And if you get a rock that's sticking up in the bottom of a pipe over time, they'll often break, and it's usually asbestos pipes. If you have an area that's subject to settlement, hog fuel or clay soils, we'll often go to repairs, and we've just done a couple of repairs there in the last few months. Asbestos pipes are probably the worst for that, because they just don't, it's concrete based. They just don't have any flexibility.
So is it safe to say? Oh,
sorry, I'm going to give you one more question, but if it is the matter, like, for as far as time goes, I do want to keep it to the agenda. Sure. And right now we're just discussing the tenders. But what I would encourage you to do is perhaps, maybe you guys can sit down and have this discussion, because they're really good questions. I'm not trying to take away the validity of the questions, but I do want to move our agenda along today. And we do have a potential motion so that we can retender the project. So this vote is open to CCRD only, but Director Harstead, I do want you to ask your final question there.
Oh, all I was going to say was I assume that plastic piping would be used in the future then?
Absolutely. It's
Thank
the
you.
standard. Only thing I'll say is we will occasionally in certain cases use steel. It's cement coated steel. It's not asbestos cement, it's regular cement, but 90% plus of piping systems now are either PVC or polyethylene, which are both different types of plastic.
Thank you very much for your
You're welcome.
patience, everyone, and for answering my questions. Yeah, I guess being the newbie, I'm full of questions. But
Questions are good.
I
No,
appreciate your patience.
I certainly don't want to discourage you from asking questions. I think they're really important. I just, yeah, I also just want, yeah, we'll move the agenda along and we will continue to ask questions because it is really important to ask. So, yeah, I totally appreciate it 100%. I am going to look for Director Northeast, and and between C and D, we're going to potentially make the recommended motion, unless Director Northeast, do you have anything to add or any questions here? Director Northeast, are you with us? Okay, because we can't move forward on this one without Director Northeast. So, okay, so should I just back to this?
One, if I may, Madam Chair, maybe he's having a technical difficulty. I've noticed his mic just came back on. Director Northeast, are you there?
Oh, there we are. Looks like he's
Nope,
coming back.
he's back off again.
Director Northeast, can you hear me? You're muted.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. So where we're at with this is we are looking at this project and looking at perhaps tendering the project with a reduced scope. But this is a vote for C and D, so I would be looking for you to make that motion if we were to retender it.
Yes, I make that
Okay.
motion.
Great. And I will second it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, perfect. So next, we have the economic development and land use planning portion of the agenda. So, but we're not. Unfortunately, Geraldine Elkins is not able to join us today, so we don't have that presentation. Perhaps that will be another day. So I'm going to continue on. Next is request for decision.
Madam Chair, can
sorry.
I ask a question?
Yeah. Sure.
What time is it over there?
Oh, it's 12:05.
So follow-up question, are any of you hungry? You wanna take a break, short break for
Yeah.
lunch?
Yeah, is now a good time? I'm going to, kind of put the question out there. We could do now or 12:30. I think, Director Hall, how are you at with time-wise?
I'd like to have lunch like in say 15 minutes or so. I'm just put on my rice cooker and ready to go.
Okay. Okay, Director Emery, how about you? So,
I'm easy.
okay, he's easy. Director Harstead, what would you think about in 15 minutes to take a lunch break?
Yeah, I'm hungry, but 15 minutes is fine.
Okay, so we're gonna, Director Northeast, would that work? 12:20
Oh, yeah,
our
that's
time
fine.
here?
If
Okay,
I turn off
cool.
if I turn off my camera, it's just because I don't want to eat a cold chicken burger.
Okay, that's fine. That's allowed.
All right, 15 minutes. We'll take a lunch break. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. Okay, so this is a request for decision on a pardon me? Did I miss something? No. Okay. On a Japanese Canadian legacy memorial. So we're looking for a letter expressing support for this project and encouraging ongoing consultation. Does anyone have any questions or discussion? Otherwise, I'm just looking for the recommended motion to submit a letter expressing support for this project and encouraging ongoing consultation with First Nations communities. Director Hall?
Yeah, so, sorry, I didn't get to read any sections on that engagement process.
Curtis, do you want to speak to that?
Organization for that? Yeah.
So we've received this as a land use referral through the province. Has sent this our way for review, and if we have any comment, our contract planner through Urban Systems has reviewed this and made doesn't see anything that really flags up. It is for within electoral area A in Ocean Falls. So they're looking to put a memorial there, the Japanese Canadian Legacy Society. So as part of the referral package, that would have also been sent to local First Nations to comment on within their territory. So this would have been sent to the Heiltsuk. In regards to the CCRD, we generally just, when it comes to these sort of things, we always encourage, if throw in the encouragement to continue ongoing consultations with the local First Nations communities. The board could submit no comment to these, which is kind of reviewed as passive acceptance or a passive positive sort of thing, or we could submit comment whether we're not whether the board of directors is not a supportive of this or any other comments, and then we pass that along to the ministry.
Yeah, if anything, I like the sections of the statement that says they need to consult with the First Nations communities within the area that have shared territories, of course, with regards to Ocean Falls, Namu, all these places that had fish processing facilities that, those processing places were what brought these communities together in the past. And yeah, they had even little village areas that had the different nations as well as the different communities in those places. So thanks.
Great. So are we happy with the recommended motion here? Is anyone ready to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Director Emery and a seconder. Seconded by Director Harstead. Any further discussion? All in favor? Great. Any opposed?
Yes.
Yes? You're in favor?
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So next in our emergency management portion of our agenda is a Fire Act update. So we have a request for decision relating to recent changes in the BC Fire Act. Curtis, can you speak to this at all?
Absolutely. So a number of years ago, the Fire Safety Act was given a royal assent, and the province said that there'd be a series of regulations that come down the pipe. Recently, the province brought into force on August 1st one of the regulations, and it requires all regional districts to designate somebody in writing who will be take the lead when it comes to fire inspections and investigations. And there'll be a 1-year transition period before designated fire inspections must meet established training criteria. So we will need to designate someone, and they will need to undertake training to take on that work. For the most part, the Office of the Fire Commissioner will still be conducting the inspections and the investigations, but we need a liaison person identified to eventually get trained up and take that on. This is an example of, to a degree, of provincial downloading. Luckily for us, our current fire services coordinator is highly qualified and a fire chief out of New West. So he is seeming to be the natural person who should be appointed, as he has a significant amount of training experience and knowledge in this area. So as we're required to designate someone in writing, we are bringing forward a recommendation to appoint Charles Lister, Fire Services Coordinator, as the designated fire inspector and fire investigator for the CCRD.
Oops. Thank you very much for that. I'm sure this comes with like a whole bunch of money from the province, right? To
No.
no.
So far, it comes with nothing, but they also aren't making requirements of us just yet. I will put this
Okay.
out there that I would be surprised if we don't have a financial obligation down the road and whatnot. But at this time, we just need to designate, and they will provide some training dollars and or training opportunities, and we'll keep an eye on how this evolves.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone have any questions about that one?
None for me.
Okay. So we are looking for a resolution here that the CCRD appoint Charles Lister, Fire Services Coordinator, as the CCRD's designated fire inspector and fire investigator.
I so move.
Moved by Director Northeast and a seconder.
Yep.
Seconded by Director Harstead. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Hearing none. So great. Thanks, you guys. We've got a few more minutes. Our next item is a request for decision on funding allocations for climate action program. So this one, yeah, well, I guess we'll see how it goes, but it might be a further discussion that we might take into after lunch. But yeah, maybe Mr. Malkinson, you can give us a brief overview on this report.
Sure, Madam Chair. Yeah, so this report's seeking some direction on how to allocate, I think it's $187,000 from the local government climate action program to support some climate initiatives. So some of the options that the team kind of discussed were purchasing a hybrid vehicle for operations to reduce reliance on some personal vehicles and rental costs. Another option that was tossed around was implementing a heat pump top-up program to assist residents with purchasing heat pumps so that people can benefit from some provincial and federal rebates. And another one was replacing some oil furnaces in some of our facilities with heat pumps to improve energy efficiency and reduce emissions. So the vehicle purchase, obviously it's got a little bit of operational efficiency and cost savings compared to the mileage and rental, but there's maintenance and other considerations that come along with that. The heat pump program, there's financial assistance, for residents to install heat pumps, but there's always some concerns that can come along with that about contractor availability and collaboration, with Clean BC and BC Hydro. And the furnace replacement, there's upgrades, there's upgrading to facility heat pumps, enhancing energy efficiency and providing some cooling options. But there's, we'll need to assess some of the costs as things go along with that. So we have some of those options that are outlined in the report, and we left it kind of, the report's left a little bit open-ended, and it's hoped that the board can have a good discussion, and we're available for any questions.
What's the timeline on the decision-making process with this? We've got a little bit of time, I'm guessing.
I believe so. I don't know if I think, oh, forgive me. Perhaps I should think before I speak here. Perhaps I can share it with Curtis or.
We'd have to look it up. This was a report led by something that became a bit of a passion project for Ms. Nevison. So we would have to look it up. I think we have a little bit of time to make this decision. So if the board wanted to make it by the end of the year, I don't think that would be a difficult thing. Ms. Bian might have the specific date in which the grant expires. Ms. Bian?
Yes, Madam Chair. Based on my conversation with the ministry, their desire is that we wanted to make sure have some plans in place by March following year, because that's kind of aligned with their fiscal year.
There we go. Thank you very much, So yeah, that's good to know. I'm going to kind of pass it over to the board if there's any directors that have any questions or comments or suggestions here.
Seems to be strictly the valley, no area A or B at all.
Mm-hmm. So then I'm feeling like, you know, you're right, and perhaps there's you know, we could direct staff to bring, you know, to bring back options that would benefit the whole region. You know, that's an idea. It sounds like maybe we do have a little bit of time on this. And, you know, maybe, you know, it would help for us to keep it in mind as we're thinking of moving forward, like what kind of funding would be most helpful for residents. Any other directors want to chime in on this one?
Oh, hang on.
Oh, I saw
Yes.
Director Norsted's hand go up there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of heat pumps, a friend of mine worked for BC Hydro for years, and he actually got a heat pump installed here. It was very expensive, between $8,000 and $10,000. He had a bit of inside track because he was a BC Hydro employee, but he filled out just so people know, that he filled out all the application forms to try to take advantage of some of the rebates. He couldn't get any of them. And also, one of the criteria from the province is that they hire particular people to come and install them. And there was only one company out of Williams Lake that was authorized to do the installs, and he couldn't get them. So, yeah, so that sort of contributed to him not being able to get any of the rebates, because they have pretty strict criteria. I just wanted to let the members of the public and the other directors know about that.
Thank you, Director Harstead. Thank you.
Yeah.
Director Northeast.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and Director Harstad, thank you for that. I could say from personal experience that I've had the exact same experience. They are very expensive. Rebates are next to impossible to find. So on one hand, we could say, well, that would, you know, this would be a good way to help people out. I don't have much confidence that option would help. Let's just say people in the middle, income wise, obtain this goal. I've also heard from people connected with hydro that there is some concern that if we all switch over to heat pumps, whether our current facilities for producing electricity could keep up. I don't know if that's true or not. But all that said, and no disrespect to the staff for these options, I wonder if there's another thing we could offer people that might appeal to people at a broader spectrum of income, shall we say, and that is energy efficient windows. As Director Harstad says, there is only one company in Williams Lake that in the past has even been willing to come down here to do heat pumps, but there are more options for window installation and that. So that's my 2 cents. Heat pumps may be the best option. I'm not sure, Director Emery or Director Hall, why that wouldn't be available to you out on the islands, but you could explain that to me if you want to. So maybe something more middle of the road, something that the average person might be able to afford, like energy efficient windows. Yeah, this is my thoughts.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like this is you know, maybe a case for option 5, which might be let's come back to this discussion, and could we bring it back maybe in November, like and if directors also like have ideas such as windows, such as things that might, might benefit the outer coast as well. And as it's mentioned, we can do a combination of different things with the funding that's available. So maybe we can have a think about these options, and also think about if there's anything else that comes to mind. I would love to see something that would save, save some money for the, for residents. I don't have the ideas right now, but it would be great to have some green ideas that also go with some cost savings. So what does everybody think about coming back to this in November with some more ideas?
Well, we could do that for November, but in October, we could put in the individual directors' ideas and maybe have that as options.
Sure. Sorry, Duncan and Curtis, I'm going to kind of make sure that this is okay if we kind of punt this a little bit, so that we can have a little more time to think, come up with some more suggestions in October and bring it back in November. Would that work?
Yes, Madam Chair, that is not a problem at all. We can punt this along to October. And then in the October meeting, if you bring forward ideas, you can give us another resolution to research those ideas if they're compliant with the grant, reporting back in November for final decision.
Perfect.
Does that meet your needs? Yeah, so we would just need a resolution to defer this matter to the October meeting.
Okay, I'm looking for a resolution.
Can I make that motion?
Director Northeast and a seconder. Seconder for that motion to defer.
I think Director Emery had his hand up.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Oh, sorry. Director Emery, were you seconding or were
Yes,
you?
I was seconding.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none. Excellent. Okay, thank you, you guys. It is now officially our lunch time. How much? Yeah. How much time does everybody need for lunch? Would a half an hour be enough, or do we need more?
Half an hour is good for me.
Half an hour is good.
Yep. I'm seeing some nodding. I'm seeing some nodding. Okay, great. So let's come back at 1 o'clock. And we will, we will come back to these discussions then. So everybody have a great lunch, and I will see you back here at 1 o'clock.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you.